So, researching the history of a Plainfield home. Everything I talk about today is accessible and mostly printable from our website. We're starting off on our house history webpage, and at the top, you'll see a tutorial, which we're going to run through today, but also an easily printable pathfinder and a checklist to help guide you in your research. So, we're going to open the tutorial, which looks like this. So, researching the history of a Plainfield home where you currently reside, one where you used to live, or just one that you've always liked, is a very popular activity here at Plainfield Public Library. And the library is a really great place to start in your research. I'm going to cover 7 main resources today: the architectural drawings and blueprints, Plainfield City Directories, Census Records, maps and atlases, newspapers, historical photographs and postcards, and Plainfield reference books. Now, before you start, there's 2 important pieces of information that you should try to have. First, if your home once had a different house number or a different street name. Both of these pieces of information are available from our website. First, the old house numbering was noted in a 1893 Daily Press article about this Plainfield city ordinance, which listed new house numbers for all residences. This appeared in the Daily Press on May 13th, and you can check to see if your house had a different house number. Okay, so here's the page from the Daily Press. And as you can see, or maybe I'll try to make this a little larger. You would just look at this article, find your street. You could look at the new number here and the old number here, and then you could find out if your house had an old number. This is particularly important if you know your house was built before 1893. If you're not sure, this is always available for you to go back to if you find out that it was. Second, old street names. This is another important piece of information to find out. And we have this list also available on our website. So, 2 of the more well known old street names are that Park Avenue used to be called Cherry Street, and that Watchung Avenue used to be called Peace Street. But there were a number of other streets that had old names before they were changed. So once you start this out, you can then move on to the next lesson, which is architectural drawings and blueprints. As some of you may be aware, the library has a huge collection of architectural drawings and blueprints that go back to 1887. This collection originated with an 1896 municipal ordinance requiring the safekeeping of architectural drawings filed in application with your building permits. The first building permit was issued on January 27th, 1896 to George W. Moore for a residence built at 44 Elm Place. And at the library, we have that in our archive here. Now, we don't hold the first permit drawings, but we do hold drawings after that. Now, once it's once the city changed its retention requirements in 1970, the drawings moved around a bit. But it wasn't until the 80s, 1982, when Charles H. Detwiller Jr., who had been storing them, transferred them to the Plainfield Public Library. So in this collection, there are over 16,000 sets of drawings, which document over a century of residential and commercial architecture in Plainfield. A little bit about this collection: it contains many different types of architecture, features, and buildings and structures. There's about 500 architects represented in the collection. 4 notable architects in here are earliest 20th century African American architects, Edward R. Williams and Robert L. Robinson, and 2 architects which are represented but with local buildings that are on the National Register of Historic Places, Charles Smith and George Ernest Robinson. So these drawings reflect over a century of architectural styles throughout the years. And then you're always welcome to search those just to see those styles. So we are going to move on to how we search that collection. So for our tutorial today, we're going to be using a residence at 541 Stell Avenue. And this is a residence that is no longer standing. So the first thing you'll want to do is contact the city's building department to get a copy of your building permit record. And we see here is the scan of the building permit record for 541 Stell Avenue, which you'll see is listed as 525 to 41 Stell Avenue. You'll also see in the top right that there is a space for block and lot number, and on your card may have these filled out. We do not have this information tracked in our cataloging system. So even though that information might help you for other things, it won't help you with searching our database. Now, once you obtain the card, I will mention that there might be a fee involved. And also because of COVID, this might be a little more difficult to get these days, but you can give them a call at 908 753 3222 and find out more information about how to get a copy of your card. There's a lot of information right away from this card. You'll see that when the years and dates that the permits were taken are applied for, a list of the owners, the construction that's associated with the permit, a possible cost, who the builder was, and of course, the important information that we need for our search, the permit number. You'll see there's a column next to that for plan number, and these numbers do often correspond, but they don't always correspond. So you want to make sure when you run your search that you're using the permit number and not the plan number. You will see that the first permit on this card was from March 25th, 1898. That's something else to be aware of, is that these permits start back in the 1800s, and they're not always putting the first two digit years on the card. So just be aware of that. There will be some abbreviations on the card, but we can see that in March 1898, Florence Van Wyck, the owner, requested a permit to build a frame dwelling in a barn. Builder was John Abbott, and the permit number was 472. At this point, there's no cost related, but we might be able to find that information out later. So we're going to start searching the collection. We're going to go to our online search, and we're going to enter a permit number in the top right of the screen, and then we'll look at the results that way. So if you're using the tutorial, you just need to click where it says to click here, and that will bring up our database. So right now, you'll see the whole database is available to us for the Charles Detwiller collection of blueprints and line drawings. We're going to start our search. Let's see. With our first permit, which I forgot already. Which is 472. This is the best way to search the collection because most of these items have permit numbers. You can also search by street address, but sometimes, and more often than not, those street addresses, particularly for the earlier records, were not noted in the drawing. So we really only have the permit record to identify them. So here you'll see we search for permit number 472, and it's sorting by relevance. But because we didn't specify that we wanted to search by permit, the computer is just doing the best it can. If we go to advanced search in the top right corner of the screen, it'll bring up a new screen. Then what we want to do is just select the blueprint collection and save that for our search. Then we can choose the permit number and enter that and click search. And now we have our record result for 472 permit at 541 Stell Avenue. We'll see a little bit of information on our results screen that this is for a house and stable for PVR Van Wyck of Plainfield, New Jersey. If you click on that, a larger record will open and you can see the image associated with the record, as well as some buttons where you can share to Pinterest, Facebook, you can email this, or you can click this to get a direct link to this record, a permanent link to this record. Below the image, you'll see a ruler which gives you an idea of the scale. So this is about a 2 feet long blueprint page. The number in the lower right of the screen is a microfilm number. Some of you may be aware that the library has had all of this collection microfilmed, and now we are in the process of having it digitized. So when these images come to us, we try to pull the best elevation image that we have in that collection, that set, make that available, and then this indicates that microfilm frame. You can make this bigger by clicking on the two-headed arrow to look at details. You can also choose to print this. If you scroll down on the window, you can see the title of this is The House and Stable for PVR Van Wyck, Plainfield, New Jersey. There'll be a description. We see here that there's floor plans, elevation, and interior details for a large Greek revival style house with stone chimneys, a wraparound porch, 5 bedrooms, etc., etc. There's even elevations for a stable with an attached chicken house and a yard. And we see that this was at the corner of Stell Avenue and Plainfield Avenue, but no longer exists. And the total set is 15 pages. There's also some other information contained in the record that was able to be pulled from the set and some condition notes. If this was your home and you wanted to see the, the rest of the pages in the blueprint, you would just need to contact us. Okay. So what we would do is then run all of these permit numbers through that search, and we can also choose to search by the address number. So just some tips to keep in mind is to only enter the permit number and do not include the actual word permit. If you're searching by street name, do not include the words avenue or street or road, etc. For numbered streets, try searching on the full names of the street, such as typing out the word second, but also the abbreviation, a number 2 with ND. You can omit street directions and their abbreviations. And don't forget, if your house was built before May 1893, check to see if it once had a different house number. A special note before we leave this section, newer sets of plans are still held by the city building department. So for the most part, anything after the year 2000, with a few exceptions, are still held by the building department. And many of the older plans were never received by the library. So if your search leads you to discover any blueprints which you are interested in, contact us to learn how to see them in greater detail or to even obtain copies. And if you have any trouble searching the blueprint collection, please don't hesitate to contact us. And this is our contact information here. So let's move on to the next lesson of searching the city directories. So once you have your permit card and you found these blueprints, you should now have a pretty good starting point to further your search. You'll have some names you can search. You might have some additional addresses you can search. So if you go to the Plainfield City Directories, which are similar to our phone books that we have today, you can search by address and also by owner name. Our directories have been digitized and are searchable online, and the ones that cover individuals run from 1871 through 1982. In addition, beginning in the 1929 directory, there's a reverse search feature which can be made to start with address and not by owner name. Searching the city directories is a little bit different, and we do recommend you're using Internet Explorer browser to search and view the PDFs. You can also download Adobe Reader, which is free to download. If you have Internet Explorer on your computer, the reason why we recommend using that is because the Internet Explorer browser offers for free a very nice user interface for searching and viewing and saving the results of your search. So we're going to go into Internet Explorer. Okay. So we should be viewing the city directories. And what we'll do in this case is we'll put in our street address of 541 Stell. See that I am not adding the word avenue after that and clicking search. Results will appear at the bottom of the page. And as you can see, we have 25 results for this address, 3 pages of results, and we have the option of sorting by date, which we will do. The first click of sorted by date will sort them from newest to oldest, and the second click will sort it from oldest to newest. You'll see our term highlighted in yellow, and you'll see some words on either side. So this is our search term highlighted in context of the other words on the page. So right away, from these first 3 search results, we recognize already one of our owners, and then later on, another owner. But we also see a lot of gobbledygook on either side. This is for a number of possible reasons. The computer is simply unable to read whatever this text is. But if when we open the document, we will be able to see what it says. But without even opening a document, we can see, uh, we can already see some of these listings. So we're going to click on the 1903, and we see that it opens up in a viewer. You'll see that it's downloading the document, and this might take a few seconds to a minute or two, depending on the size of the document. It's already started running our search, and it says that there are 34 instances in our document. Under here in the results section, we can click on any of these to go to that next result. And in the middle of the screen, you'll see that our term is highlighted. But you will also see that our search phrase, which was 541 Stell, is not what's being highlighted here. And it's also not what's being shown over here. So what we need to do is rerun our search. This may seem cumbersome, but will only take a couple seconds. We just can change our letter S to a capital S, make sure we're searching for whole words only and that it's case sensitive, and re-click the search. This will immediately bring up our very specific search and highlight that in context. So we see the listing for Philip V.R. Van Wyck, who is an electrical engineer, a little letter H, 541 Stell Ave. So you'll see a couple things here that are important to note. First, he was an electrical engineer. So now we learn a little more about one of the owners of our home. The H stands for that he is a home owner. At the beginning of every city directory, there will be a list of abbreviations, but a little letter H indicates a home owner, and a small letter R indicates a renter, a roomer, or a boarder. And this is someone who is not a homeowner. You'll also see that the word avenue is abbreviated, but is also lowercase. So this is one of the reasons we leave this off completely from our search. Now, one of the benefits of using the Internet Explorer interface is they make it very easy to save this information without printing out the whole page. You can print out the whole page, but what we want to do is go to this little camera icon, click that. You'll see that our cursor turns into a little different symbol, and then you can click and drag that to select that area on the page. When you release your mouse, we see the selected area has been copied, and we can paste that into a Word document or to an email or something, some other type of document that we want to share. And that just makes it really easy. So what I can do to show you that is here I've opened up a Word document, and now I can paste this into it, and I can put in a citation that this is from a city directory from 1903, and I can save all of my research that way, which is a really handy thing to have. Okay, so we'll go back to our city directory. So we could run this search um, Like we did, searching for our street address, we can enter our owner's name, but we can also go to any of these directories and open the year that way and search manually by last name or by reverse street address. All right. Okay. So, one of the things to be aware of as you're searching, you can narrow things by decade. And again, keep in mind that, like contemporary phone books, names are listed alphabetically by last name. Back then, only names of men 20 years or older were listed. When married, their spouse names were listed next to them. Widows were sometimes listed, and later single women. As I mentioned, a single letter H typically indicates a householder or homeowner, and a letter R indicates the person is a roomer or boarder. If you have any questions about this section, you can please enter them in the Q&A and I can answer them at the end. And if you are watching this on YouTube, please feel free to email us at localhistory@pfdpl.info. So the next section we'll cover today is how to use our early Plainfield newspapers to help us with our house history. The library's periodical collection includes 23 newspapers and magazines dating back to 1837. These holdings are on microfilm, broadsides, as well as many digitized titles. We also offer the Courier News on microfilm, which is available upstairs in the reference section, although not right now because of COVID. But also, Plainfield Public Library cardholders can access the Courier News via the library's subscription to ProQuest. I will talk about that today a little bit. So, particularly during the early part of the 1900s, the Plainfield newspapers covered the building and sale of local homes. So, we always recommend, depending on the timeline of your house when it was built, to search the Daily Press and the Plainfield Daily Press, which covers the years 1887 to 1916. The Courier News eventually, this newspaper was eventually absorbed into the Courier News, and we'll cover that in our next section. Also, remember that the Daily Press in 1883 ran the special article of the Plainfield City Ordinance listing new house numbers. So we're going to start searching with the Plainfield Daily Press. And if you're following along in the tutorial at home, you just have to click here and select the Plainfield Daily Press, and then select those newspapers from the list. So I'm going to go do that now. Oh, I'm sorry. Once again, we recommend for these early newspapers, just like the city directories, using the Internet Explorer to do your searching and viewing. Okay, so we will go. Okay, so we are going to the early Plainfield newspapers, and from this selection, you see we have quite a few available. You also have the option of searching all or the individual newspapers. The Search All feature does not include the Plainfield Daily Press, because there's just too many of documents in that paper for us to include in the All search. So you will need to select that separately. But everything else can be searched through Search All. So because we want to search the Daily Press, I'm just going to click on that. And you see it's very similarly set up to the city directories. And we will put in our address of 541 Stell. Again, leaving off Avenue and clicking search. And you can see we have 55 results here with 6 pages. And right away, without even clicking on anything, you will see that just the top few, we have a classified wanted ad for some well-rotted cow manure. We'll see another one below, two below that, wanted an experienced gardener. And in the middle, we have something here about a handsome residence, something about a divorced husband, and one of those owner names back on our permit card hood. So if we click on that, it will open just as it did before with the city directories. We're going to want to rerun our search. Keep in mind the download time. I am doing this in real time, so you will see that it does take a few seconds for things to download sometimes. It does depend on how fast your internet service is. And it's not quite loaded enough. So we're just going to go right to it. Okay. Now, of course, I don't remember exactly in the page where it is. We will go up to the magnifying glass and clicking that, we can zoom in and make these things a little bigger to see. Right. And where are you? Well, I don't want to waste too much time waiting for this to load. Um, we will go back to our tutorial. And look at it that way. So you do get the idea, I hope, that when you open the documents, you can go through them and see that there's a number of these articles. Don't forget to search by your street address, but also for the owner's names. And now we're going to go to the Courier News. So one thing to keep in mind when searching in the Courier News was that at some point in the earlier years, they coincide with the same years from the daily press. So when you first run your search, you might see a lot of very similar articles. Don't get discouraged, and you should look at everything you want, but keep in mind that there might be that overlap. Now, when you want to search for more articles in the Courier News, you'll need to use the library subscription to the ProQuest Northeast news stream. This can be done from any library computer on site or from home with your Plainfield Public Library card. You want to go to the library's online databases page and select Courier News or further down the ProQuest, and this is what they look like. So if you're following along on the tutorial, you'll just click on the library databases page. You'll see there's many things available for you. You can decide to click on local history and genealogy, and you'll see the Courier News is right here. And further down in the page are the ProQuest newspapers. One thing that's real important to note is that this is a little more tricky because the Courier News is segmented into four different titles depending on the time period. There's the Plainfield Courier from 1891 to 1894, the Plainfield Courier News, I'm sorry, not just Plainfield Courier News, 1894 to 1961, the Courier News, 1961 to 2010, and then Courier News, Bridgewater, New Jersey, which runs from 1999 to the present. So if you're on the website, If you're searching from the Courier News, you can click in library. If you're home, click remote, and that'll bring you to that first title. If you click on any of these links, if you're in the library, it'll bring you directly to that time segment. But if you're at home, you will be prompted to enter your library card number. Okay, so that's just what we're going to do. We are going to search the Courier News. We're going to select the largest time frame, which is 1894, which precedes the building of our home location of 541 Stell to 1961. Now, because I'm in the library, I will not be prompted to enter in my library card. So as you can see, we're there. We're going to type in our search, 541 Stell, and click search. 312 results, which is great. We'll also see they'll offer, in case we put a typo in there, but we did not mean steal, we meant Stell. And we'll see right away some very similar items here to our search from the Daily Press that I mentioned before. This is going to happen because of the time frame. Now, however, when we do our search for a former homeowner's name, some different articles might appear. So if we do run our search for one of the homeowners from our building card, in this case, Florence W. Van Wyck, we can go to our search and in the phrase, just type in her name and search. We have 3 articles come up. In 1908, what looks like a transfer of property to Francis S. Hood. This is the person who was listed on our permit page. A June 1898 article, which is something erected for Mrs. Florence W. Van Wyck. And we already know from our permit card that this is when the first permit was taken out. So let's look at that first. It'll open up, giving the date of the issue, the page, and the total pages in this issue, some citation information. It will give us some options to download this, email or print it. And then we have a scan of the page. So, unlike our other database for the early newspapers, this is a little bit more difficult to do a copy and paste with. And it's also a little more difficult to zoom in on. So, just for our purposes of today and making it a little easier for you, we do see here that this portion of this article, many buildings are going up, handsome structures now in course of completion. Local builders have plenty to do. Some of the structures are costly ones. And if we read down into the second to last paragraph, I'm going to click back here so it's a little easier to read. At the corner of Stell and Plainfield Avenues, a handsome dwelling and stable are being erected for Mrs. Florence W. Van Wyck. These buildings will cost over $20,000. And if you recall from our permit card, that cost was not listed. What's interesting to note is that $20,000 from 1898 is equal to several million dollars today. So this was a very big estate. If we open up that first option, we will see a transfer, a real estate transfer from May 1st, 1908. Florence W. Van Wyck et al. To Francis S. Hood on the southerly side of Stell Avenue, corner of Plainfield Avenue, $1. So now we have more information about the owners and information about the house that we know it's on the corner, it's on the southerly side of Stell, and we can keep an ongoing list of these things. And we can always go back into the city directories to rerun a search for owners and to go back into the newspapers and rerun a search on the owners' names in those. As we research the names associated with 541 Stell, we'll find out that there were beautiful gardens there, that it was a well-known house that was known as the Roses, and that there was quite a dramatic a divorce story with a couple that was living there. What will reveal what will be revealed when searching your home. So another resource that's available here at the library are our early maps and atlases. So for our house, there's several maps we can look at, and also for yours. We have a collection of 5 Plainfield Sanborn maps from 1886, 1892, 1897, 1904, and 1910. And these 5 years can be accessed through Princeton University Libraries. And this is the website that we use. We do have some hard copies of these years in our collection, but it's really very easy just to use this website. And you can look before and after your home was built to kind of see a footprint indicating the buildings that were present before and after the building of your home. So to do that, we're going to go to the Princeton University website. We know that our house was built in 1898, so we're going to start with 1904. And we just follow along by clicking on that web link. There's a couple steps involved. So the first thing you'll need to do, again, we're going to look at 1904, is go to the title index page. The title index page will let you look at the index to see what sheet in the atlas or book of maps um, that your home is on. And it's alphabetical. So we will find Stell Avenue is on page 25. Then we go back to the key, we go to sheet 25, open that, and we know that we're at the intersection of Plainfield at Stell, and we see, so there's Plainfield Avenue, that this is our dwelling, this is the stable that was built, but it's associated with a different house number. So this is another piece of information we could go back and add into our search. Keep in mind that the original range was 525 to 541. We see that there's 2 buildings here, but may not know what any of this information means. Other than that, it's probably D for dwelling. We may not know what the other things are. So if you go back for all of the pages, there's going to be an overview page. Sometimes this is combined with the title index page. And if you look at the overview page, that is going to give you a key. And so we'll learn that the yellow indicates a wooden frame structure. D is for dwelling. The X across the second structure indicates a stable. The numbers indicate that this is 2.5 floors and that the stable is 2 floors, and that the little X's indicate it's a shingle roof, and this dotted line indicates it's a frame partition. We could email this record to ourselves. We could download the TIFF and print it out at home. All right, so back to our tutorial. This is a close-up of what we just saw. So it's also interesting to learn what the area looked like before your home was built. And for this example, we'll take a page from the Dunham Atlas for Plainfield and North Plainfield in 1894. And we'll see here that our example site, this lot, was owned by James H. Havens, who is next to the estate of Manning Stell, the street's namesake. So this book is currently only available from inside the library, so please do contact us and we can help get a page scanned for you. We're also hoping to scan this entire book because it is out of copyright. So a small selection of the Plainfield Public Library's maps are available through a database called the New Jersey Digital Highway. And I'll only show you this briefly. When you click on that link, you just have to type in the word Plainfield and search the maps. And there really will be search results. I'm afraid that are, okay, here we go. And you can look at them that way. And these will offer some really great images for you to look at. Okay, So I do want to allow some time for question and answers at the end. So I'm going to go on very briefly review something about census records. So once you have our owners' names, you can learn more about the owners in particular by looking at the U.S. federal census records or the New Jersey state census records. To look at the US federal census records, those of you who are genealogists are probably already familiar with this, but these records are searchable using the library subscription to Ancestry.com Library Edition. But this database is usually only available from inside the library. You can you can search the federal census through familysearch.org, which is free, but you must create an account. And very temporarily, with your library card, because of COVID, you can, Ancestry has made this available for our library card holders. These will cover the years every 10 years on the tens. And we just see an example here from the Van Wyck household from the 1900 federal census. And you see some information about them. You can learn about who their children are and their ages and some other information. You can also do the search in the New Jersey State Census records. If you use Family Search, if you're inside the library, you are able to use the library's subscription to Family Search as an affiliate library. But again, if you're outside the library, you can create your own free account. If you're using the Family Search, this will allow you to search the indexes for these years 1885, 1895, and 1905. The library has the actual census records on microfilm, but the index is searchable through Family Search. So here's an example page from the 1905 New Jersey census record for the Van Wyck household. You can see that the family has grown with some other kids, and quite a few servants are listed with the entry. A cook is here, a housemaid, and some nurses. Now, if you want to learn more about how to use the census or the city directories, we will have programs coming up in the coming months for our program series. But now I want to jump to using historical photographs. I think next to the blueprints, this is the most desirable feature to be able to search for your house. Many people want to get a nice old photo of their house. And we have several thousand photographs in our collection. So for searching the photographs, this will work similarly to the way the blueprints did. And we're just going to search on the street address for now. So we're going to click this link. This will bring us to our larger database, our whole digital collections database. And you can see all of the collections here that are available to search. So in the top right of the screen, I'm going to type in 541 Stell and click enter. This brings up 4 records across all of our collections that have 541 Stell in some form in the record. The first 2 are photographs, and the bottom 2 are 2 of the blueprints. So you'll see here that this first record says no image available, but you can still click anywhere in this record to open it and possibly learn more about it. First, we see that this was a photograph taken by J. Lloyd Grimstead in 1934. It says here that the house is in the Van Wyck Brooks district. It's a house at 541 Stell, and it does say that the image is not available here and may no longer exist. It also says that this address information was from a collection record index from the Metuchen Edison Historical Society. That is because the Grimstead collection was actually donated in copy negative form to the library for just the Plainfield homes. Unfortunately, there was a small group of records in this collection that had no negatives. So although we have the documentation that that an image once existed, we no longer have that image. So this might happen when you do your search. It's also possible that it just hadn't been digitized yet. So, depending on the note, you can always contact us and let us know that there's an image you want to see, and we'll do our best to scan that pretty quickly and get that loaded for you to see. The second record has a nice image. This is part of the Paul Collier collection, and we know it was taken during the 1920s. We have some information here, and on the reverse, we see that it says W.C. Ulrich, 541 Stell Avenue. Note, this house is no longer standing. So this is a we could see now the house in its glory with a beautiful pond, gardens. And again, if you click that arrow, you can see it larger and you can print this record at home. Now, what happens if no records, if there are no images for your, uh, no photographs for your house? Well, first, you could always contact us and we can help you with the search. Or we can try looking in the vintage postcard collection. So we'll do that next. So the vintage postcard collection, again, works pretty much the same way. And we already know that none exist for that address because we searched all our collections. However, maybe we can just see what Stell Avenue looked like. So I'm just going to search on Stell, and I am going to limit this to just the vintage postcard collection. So I did that by just selecting the box next to vintage postcard collection, updating it to save my search. And now you see I have the word Stell in our search box. I'll click enter. And we have 4 results in our vintage postcard collection that contain the word Stell. So we're looking to see if maybe we have an image on a postcard of the block of Stell. We see our first result is of Central Avenue north from Stell. We see that we have an image of the Courier Mansion, which was on the intersection of Stell and Central Avenues. We see that we have a business card, which shows that the business was at 925 Stell Avenue, but it's not a picture of that house. And we have an image of a house at 623 Stell Avenue. Well, if our address had been 623, we would have a nice image of our house, but it's not. So if this happens to you, there's still one more place we can look to see if we can have an image of our house. And that is with our Plainfield reference books. So some of our Plainfield reference books offer photographs of homes. Although we do have photographs of our sample house, we also found 2 images located in a 1926 book, Plainfield Vicinity and Pictures. So these are the images. But we have a lot of other sources we can consult. So here's at the bottom of this tutorial, we have our list of Plainfield resources we recommend consulting for house history. And starting with this 1926, because we know our house was built by then, we can search the index. So we would just click on that, open up our spreadsheet here, which is saved as a PDF. We can scroll down to see if by street. This is a short document of only 5 pages, so it's easy to do. And we do see that on Stell Avenue, we have 541, and it was the residence and grounds of Waldorf C. Ulrich, who is noted on the back of the photograph just as WC. So now we have another name that we could use in our search. And again, these were the 2 images that were associated with that book. In another year or so, we will be able to digitize this book because it will be out of copyright and in the public domain. But for now, you can search the index and let us know if you find anything. We have a number of books that our staff and volunteers have indexed, and you can search them all going directly in the index. And we'll just have time for 2 more things before we open up the Q&A. You also want to check to see if you find that your home is in a historic district. There's a number of, as you know, there's a number of historic districts here in Plainfield. Netherwood Heights and Van Wyck Brooks have their own websites. There's also a number of proposed historic districts. For example, the special neighborhood Sleepy Hollow, I believe, is looking to become a historic district. You can check with the Plainfield Historic Preservation Commission, which offers a list of properties located in the historic districts. And you could also see how to become their preservation application. There's also a little brochure that they published talking a little bit about the districts. Ooh, I am going to mention one more thing before finishing up that I forgot to mention. One of the most important books you could look at is the Survey of Historic Building Resources prepared by Gail Hunton in 1998. Now, keep in mind, in 1998 means your house would have to have still been standing by 1998, which our sample house was not. But if yours was and still is, you can search the index just like we did the other one. This is going to allow you to open up the document. If you press Control F, it will open up a search. We could look for, let's do 520 Central. And you see, as I run the search, it highlights it here. The inventory number is on the left of the page. And if you let us know what you're looking for, we can find that page for you and make sure we get the information. Many of these have a photograph associated. Okay, so that about wraps it up. Uh, we'll, s- I hope that this tutorial was helpful to you in researching the history of your home. Again, if you need assistance, please don't hesitate to contact us at our email. Be sure to check out our webpage with lots of other information and including how to access all of those other records that are available in our Plainfield records. So this was all of the surveys and other indexes. So one of the things people do forget to do is searching our actual website. Our website is powered by Google, and on every page you go to, there'll be the Google search bar in the top right. You could put your search in there, and we'll see that this address is associated with Painful Country Club club member books, Monday afternoon club member books. We have two funeral record and two funeral records for people who lived at this address in our collection. Okay. Don't forget, you can access this tutorial from our website. You can also print a printable Pathfinder PDF and a helpful checklist that you can print to help guide you in your search. All right. So I'm just going to close up some of these windows and we can open up the Q&A. Let me just get back to that page. All right.